Well, this one's been a long time coming. SeaWorld Orlando has finally made their big new roller coaster announcement. Coming in 2023 is Pipeline, the surf coaster, the world's first surf coaster by B&M. We've been trying to figure this one out for years. What on earth is a surf coaster? Rumors started churning all the way back before the pandemic. This ride got pushed back a couple years. We knew they were going to be adding a first of its kind, but we didn't know what a surf coaster would be. Now, with an official animation from SeaWorld Orlando, we can see that it is the next generation stand-up coaster. But they've designed it to have a little give to it, so the seats are actually going to bounce a little. The idea is to mimic the feeling you get while riding a surfboard. Hence why the train looks like one big surfboard, which is actually a pretty cool design, especially when you compare it to the previous generation stand-up trains. Look how closed off those are. Very much a boxy kind of feel. These are two across, very open. I think it's a really clever design. The way the park describes is that when you ride a surfboard, you aren't standing with your legs just straight up. You know, they're bent a little bit, and your position is going to change depending on the wave you're taking. So, even as we're looking through this layout, which doesn't look too terribly exciting, the experience is really going to be different depending on how the seat moves. So I feel like the best word I could use to describe this attraction is intriguing. I'm more intrigued about this ride than I thought I would be, but I still don't know if I would say I'm super excited for it. In my opinion, this has always been a very strange addition, but I understand why they're doing it. Number one, Orlando is a hotspot for theme parks. This is the tourist destination of the world, so they have to make themselves different from every other park in the area. And what do you do when there is just so much competition? You do something different. There are no other stand-up coasters in Orlando. So in that regards, this attraction does make sense. Now, the fact that they're bringing back the stand-up coaster, which is pretty much a dead concept, we haven't seen one of these in a very long time, it's a bit of a strange move. I don't feel like anyone really asked for this. I think it has the potential to be cool. The only problem is, stand-up coasters as of right now don't have the highest reputation. They're not really beloved attractions. So I find it hard to believe that anyone would get off this attraction and be like, wow, that's my new favorite roller coaster. You know, I think it'll be neat. I think there's definitely a lot of pros to it, and I've mentioned some of these in past videos. The fact that they're adding an attraction to the front of the park is a wonderful choice. They've been needing a front gate coaster. You'll be able to see this thing right from the parking lot as soon as you get on property. It'll also connect one side of the park to the other. Previously, that was an event pathway that was really only open during like Christmas time. So now it'll make things a full loop when you go from the stadium to the front entrance. And I think it's going to be really scenic. It's going to give some good views. And I like how this attraction is going to go right up against the pathway, so it should provide some really good photo ops. In terms of the physical layout, Pipeline will launch you up to 60 miles per hour. This launch is going to have a little bunny hop in it, similar to Icebreaker, which is a little strange that both launch coasters in the park have that. But this airtime hill is going to be part of the physical launch, as opposed to Icebreakers comes actually after you stop accelerating. You're going to soar up into a big overbank. I know, strange choice, right, for a first element. That's your max height at 110 feet. You go through a twisted kind of airtime hill. I imagine that's going to be a big moment when that seat is kind of bouncing. As soon as you hit that peak, you might rise up a bit. That's just my guess, is during those negative moments, you'll rise up. During those positive moments, you'll go down. We'll have to wait and see if that actually ends up being the case. You then go through the ride's only inversion. Yes, there is one inversion on this coaster. Again, very strange. They're describing it as a wave curl inversion. Again, very much mimicking an element that surfers would do. And I think it does create a nice visual. I think when you think of someone surfing on a wave, it does sort of look like a roller coaster inversion. And then pretty much from there, you're going into an assortment of helices and bank turns, staying fairly low to the ground. So the layout doesn't look like anything crazy. In fact, before we knew what the seats would be doing, I went out and said that this layout actually looks pretty boring. So I think the seat movement is really what's going to make this attraction. It's going to be that factor that determines whether this is a good ride or just something that people get off and they're like, it was all right. Or maybe even, I didn't really like it. I can think of several stand-up coasters that people have ridden and are like, that's not very good at all. But then you have rides like Georgia Scorcher or Riddler's Revenge that people actually really enjoy. I don't think this ride is going to be anywhere near as forceful as those attractions, but I don't think this ride is really designed to be that way, especially when you have rides like Kraken, which are in the same park, which are very intense. This still seems to kind of fall in the family thrill category, although it does have a height requirement of 54 inches, which in my opinion is, again, a very strange choice because SeaWorld Orlando really really needs a ride for that 48-inch height requirement. Icebreaker was going to be that, but it's not anymore, which means that all of the roller coasters here, save for like Journey to Atlantis or Super Grover, are at 54 inches. I'm sure they didn't know that Icebreaker was going to end up having to get changed when they were designing this attraction, but I think if anything it means that after this coaster they really need to get something for the families, something a bit tamer. I could see them going with something like Wavebreaker, but we'll have to wait and see. One thing at a time. But overall, I mean, I think the concept art looks nice. Again, I really like the train design that they went with. I think the area will look good. Everything about the placement of this coaster seems kind of stylized. I wouldn't say it's going to be elaborately themed. You know, don't expect much in the queue or anything. I imagine there could be like some signs referencing surfing, some like bright colors around the area. You know, enough that it'll look nice. But it's all part of this whole marketing plan that SeaWorld has where they're trying to really encourage people to come out to this park for the roller coasters. It's a change in the direction from come to our park because we have a bunch of marine animals. They're saying we are the coaster capital of Orlando. We have the best roller coasters in the area. That's why you should visit our park. So we'll definitely have to see how it works out for him. But I think to wrap things up, I'm very interested in seeing how this ride plays out. But to be honest, I still don't know how I feel about it. I think it is a very strange addition to this park. If you had asked me a couple of years ago, I would not have ever guessed that they would have added something like this. I think there are several things that would have been a better fit there. But again, I see why they're doing it. Personally, I just wouldn't say that my excitement level for it is very high. But I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to get off this thing and be like, wow, I really enjoyed that. That was really good. But I think just when you look at the combination of the fact that the layout doesn't look anything crazy and it's a stand-up coaster, I'm just kind of like, all right, yeah, you know, great on SeaWorld for adding another roller coaster. It will be an improvement to the park, but I just don't know how much it'll wow everyone. But again, we'll have to wait and see. So let me know down in the comments below what you think of Pipeline, the surf coaster coming to SeaWorld Orlando next year. I imagine this ride will be opening up in springtime. As usual, we'll be sure to go out and experience it, post a bunch of videos about it so you can know what to expect. So be sure to stay tuned for those. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.